My name is Isabella. I'm 34 years old and an office worker. It's a bit of a long time ago, but we have a little secret in our family. 10 years ago. I was 24 years old and lived with my husband Tyler, who was 4 years older than me, my daughter, Amelia, who was 3 years old, and my son, Kane, who was 1 year old. While I was dating Tyler, whom I met at the recommendation of a friend, I found out that I was pregnant. We decided to get married after that. Our children were growing up very cute, but I had a problem. That is, my husband Tyler treats our daughter Amelia coldly. I became pregnant with my first son soon after giving birth to Amelia, but I miscarried as soon as I found out the gender. I was filled with tremendous sadness, but fortunately I soon became pregnant with my son. When I gave birth to my son not long after, I was really relieved. My husband was also very happy about the birth of our son. His name is Kane. I still remember the look on his face when he said that, as if it were yesterday. But from then on, Tyler was obsessed with Kane and treated Amelia as if she didn't exist. Originally, Tyler didn't seem to care about Amelia when she was born, so much so that I wondered, maybe he didn't like children. And it's the same with my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law lived alone about a 10-minute walk away from our house. My mother-in-law didn't seem to like me as a daughter-in-law from the beginning of our marriage. Isabella is really irritating because she doesn't clean up well and cooks poorly. Even when she's not invited, she would often come to our house and bully me like that. My mother-in-law was a nurse and always made fun of me for only working part-time. She must have been proud to have raised Tyler by herself without her husband, who died years ago. On top of that, I don't mind if it's just me, but she also bullies Amelia, who is only 3 years old. She ignores Amelia when she says hello, and she buys a mountain of toys for Kane, but not at all for Amelia. Amelia, it's unpleasant to watch you, so please go over there and don't disturb Kane, okay? Kane is cute, but Amelia is ugly, which is really disappointing. Amelia is coldly treated not only by her father, Tyler, but also by her grandmother, my mother-in-law. Even though she was a 3-year-old child, she seemed to understand that she was treated coldly, and she always turned her head down. Amelia isn't my child, she's like someone else's child. I don't think either Amelia or Isabella are part of our family. I knew that he would say that every time he stepped away from me and Amelia. I felt so sorry for Amelia that I asked Tyler to stop, but he wouldn't listen. Amelia doesn't look like me, and Kane is my first boy, so both my mom and I love him. They just say it as if it's nothing. I can't talk to anyone, but I can't talk to my parents. I spent my days complaining to my trusted friends from time to time. One day, when I was spending my time in a relaxed mood, an incident occurred. Tyler is a person who always comes home late for entertainment because he works in sales. He came home late that day, and as soon as he got home, he went straight to the bath. When I was tidying up the clothes he had taken off, I found some kind of paper in his pocket. When I opened it, it was a receipt for a motel. I couldn't stand it and went straight to the bathroom. "Hey, Tyler, what's this?" I yelled, and Tyler quickly turned pale. "What's that, and where did it come from?" "It's from your clothes pocket, and the date isn't from today." "What's going on?" At first, Tyler froze at my question. However, he quickly reopened it and yelled back. "What's the point of me cheating on you with someone, if you don't want me to deal with you?" I was stunned by Tyler's attitude. Not only does he admit that he had an affair, but he also blames me for it. When I couldn't say anything back, Tyler didn't even try to talk to me and got out of the bath and locked himself in his room. The next day was Sunday. On his days off, Tyler spends a lot of time with Kane. He's a dad who will change diapers, soothe him, and do anything. To the third parties, he would look like an ideal father. But on this day, Tyler was visibly grumpy, dragging the mess of the previous day with him. While taking care of Kane as usual, he ignores Amelia as usual, who is on the side. On top of that, just dropping a little thing would make him lash out, and it had a scary atmosphere. I'd like to ask him about what he said yesterday, but let's wait until things calm down for now. With that in mind, I was hanging out the laundry while I left the cane to Tyler. Then I heard a loud cry and I jumped up. I hurried back to the room to find Amelia crying and Tyler soothing Kane. Tyler is furious. "Hey, what's going on?" When I ask, Tyler replies with irritation. "Amelia hit Kane, so I hit her for him. She is so useless, not disciplined at all." At Tyler's words, I rushed to Amelia. Amelia's right cheek was bright red and swollen, and it was clear that he had been beaten with all his might. Poor Amelia, is what Daddy says true? When you ask Amelia, she shakes her head vigorously. "I didn't hit him, I just stroked him on the cheek." A small voice that was completely frightened. "I can't believe he's doing this to a 3-year-old. How dare you hit her with such force? Amelia is a girl. What the hell are you doing to your own child?" I yelled back at Tyler. "Whatever, she's not my child." "Here you go again. I'm always telling you not to joke about it," I retorted, but Tyler looked at me with a damned face. And he threw unbelievable words at me. "I'm not kidding, she doesn't look like me at all, and I guess she's a child you made with your cheating partner anyway." "What are you talking about? Yesterday he didn't even try to hide his affair, and today he says that I cheated on him. What on earth is this person talking about?" Just as I was thinking about this, my mother-in-law came to visit us. My mother-in-law almost always came here on Tyler's days off. When she saw the scene in the living room, she stood there with a surprised face. What's the matter? Did something happen to Kane?" Just as I was wondering if Amelia would ever be worried at such a time, Tyler ran up to my mother-in-law. "Mom, listen to me." Tyler tells the whole story to his mother. At first, my mother-in-law nodded, but when he finished speaking, she looked at me with stern eyes. "Isabella, it's your fault. Tyler is tired from working every day, but Amelia's education is bad. You're disqualified as his wife." "No way." I lost my words. "Mother-in-law, but Tyler admitted to cheating on me yesterday, and said Amelia was not his child, guessing I cheated on him. It's ridiculous." Even though I said it with emotion, my mother-in-law got even more furious. "Just 1 or 2 flirtations, what's about them? And Amelia really doesn't look like Tyler at all, and I don't think she's family." At the words of the mother-in-law, Tyler gets on. "Mom, I thought it was crazy too, and I'm sure Isabella was with a man who wasn't me. Isn't that right? Then Isabella, you're a cheating woman. Who the hell did you make her with?" My mother-in-law yells at me. I had no idea what they were talking about. Not only does he not admit to have cheated on me, but they are accusing me of cheating. There is no such stupidity. Enough, let me distance myself for a while. I said so and packed my bags with Amelia. Neither my husband nor my mother-in-law would let go of Kane, but I forcibly grabbed him and left the house. I wanted to get a divorce right now, so I headed to my parents' house. That evening, as soon as we arrived at my parents' house, both Amelia and Cain were exhausted and fell asleep. The two of them are really close siblings and they are always together when they sleep. When I told the story of the incident, my parents turned red in the face and became furious. Oh my God, Amelia is only 3 years old, and she's been through such a terrible thing. My mother was in tears. My father opened his mouth hesitantly, even though his anger was oozing on his face. Tyler and his mother are really silly people, but it's a little weird to say, "It's not our child," so many times. That's true, but for a long time, my mother-in-law and Tyler have always said, "It's not our child," every time they abuse Amelia. But Amelia is really my child. Why on earth would they say that? For some reason, the doubts I had at that time were completely cleared up. A few months later, on Sunday, I ended up going home for the first time in a long time. Tyler and my mother-in-law would contact me and say, "What's going on with Cain?" and "Hurry up and bring Cain back." I just texted them and said, "I'm going home that day because I want to talk to you," and headed there. When I opened the front door, Tyler and my mother-in-law, who I hadn't even called, ran up to me. However, when they saw that I was alone, they seemed to get in a bad mood. "What, you're coming home by yourself? Where is Cain? What are you talking about? Are you going to apologize for your infidelity?" I managed to hold back my anger at the two people who hate me and slap me in the mouth. "I have something to talk about, can I go to the living room?" The two reluctantly headed to the living room. Then, I held out a document to the table in front of us. "Here are divorce papers, please divorce me." My husband was not surprised by my declaration, but rather snorted and laughed. "You are divorcing me? What are you talking about? A divorce? You are just a part-time worker, you don't know how hard it is to survive out there." As if it were funny, they laughed and rolled. Tyler laughed a lot, then added as if he had an idea. "Well, you can get a divorce, but you're responsible for the divorce, because your family was ruined. Isn't it?" "That's right, you'll pay him a lot of alimony. I don't care about Amelia, but Cain's custody is ours." It's all about what they want. Suppressing my anger with reason, I said coldly, "If we divorce, custody will be mine, both Amelia and Cain. And I won't let you touch them." Then, the faces of Tyler and his mother, who had been smiling until then, suddenly turned into demon-like faces. "You're just my daughter-in-law. Don't talk as if you're so entitled. You can't raise a child if you're a part-timer, right? Give Cain to us. You had an affair and gave birth to Amelia. This cheating woman." As they shouted at me, I held out yet another document. "Amelia, she really wasn't my child after all." Saying this, Tyler and his mother-in-law quickly turned pale. I stared at my mother-in-law. "You know why this happened, don't you, mother-in-law?" I held out a DNA test. It was written that Isabella, the woman who is believed to be the mother, is not recognized as having a biological parentage relationship with the woman Amelia, who is believed to be the child. It all started with my friend's mother. My friend's mother, whom I always consulted about Tyler and my mother-in-law, happened to be a nurse for my mother-in-law's colleague. My mother-in-law and my friend's mother are nurses at the maternity hospital. At the recommendation of my mother-in-law, or rather, semi-forcibly, I gave birth at the maternity hospital where my mother-in-law worked. When I returned to my parents' house, my friend's mother said, "I have something that bothers me and I want to talk to you." What I heard there was hard to believe. When Isabella gave birth to Amelia, she had an emergency C-section, and a woman gave birth at exactly the same time as Isabella. Now that I think about it, your mother-in-law's behavior at that time was very strange. According to my friend's mother, my mother-in-law said she would put my child in the treatment room and did not come back for a long time. Strangely, she didn't come back for a long time, so when she went to look for her, she said that she was already holding a baby with a name tag. The name on the name tag was not my name. I also remembered the time of childbirth. After giving birth, my mother-in-law took the baby somewhere without letting me touch her at all. I didn't see the baby until the next day. Does that mean you may have switched them? As I asked back, I couldn't stop trembling. My mind couldn't keep up with the possibility that something so horrible is happening. It's fine if it's just my misunderstanding, but it didn't mean that the patient who had a C-section in the first place was in labor. I was so overwhelmed by that time that day that I did it. Even that instruction was pushed through by your mother-in-law. I did a DNA test at the recommendation of my friend's mother. This is the result. Amelia is not my child, it said. I feel like everything I believed in has crumbled under my feet. If so, where and whose child is she? Just as I was in despair, another piece of news arrived at the right time. With the news and the results of the DNA test, I decided to meet Tyler and my mother-in-law. Tyler, you've been with your cheating partner since before we got married, and mother-in-law, you knew about it and swapped Amelia and my child for Serena's child. I hold out yet another document to Tyler and my mother-in-law, who are pale in front of me. Dropping his eyes to the papers, Tyler gasped. The document is a report of Tyler's cheating investigation. While I was waiting for a DNA test, my mom and dad had asked to investigate Tyler's infidelity. The result was pitch black. Serena had a much deeper relationship with Tyler than I thought. Tyler was glad that I wasn't home, and he brought her into the house as if she were his wife. What surprised me was that my mother-in-law was involved without any discomfort. You had always wanted Serena and Tyler to get married for a long time, but Tyler married me and even had a child. When I spoke, my mother-in-law glared at me resentfully. If you hadn't gotten pregnant, everything would have gone as planned. According to my mother-in-law's story, the truth was like this. Serena is the daughter of my mother-in-law's best friend. Even before Tyler and I met, Tyler and Serena had a close relationship. My mother-in-law thought that the two of them would get married. However, Tyler was dating me at the same time and ended up marrying me when he found out I was pregnant. It wasn't long before we found out that Serena was also pregnant. So my mother-in-law proposed to Tyler. I don't care about Isabella's child, I really want to raise Serena and your child. Please. Tyler was surprised at first, but he couldn't refuse his mother's desperate request. Serena said, "It's a request from my mother-in-law, who is taking care of me, so it's okay." And the mother-in-law replaced the baby. In other words, Amelia is the child of Serena and Tyler. But as I was raising her, Amelia didn't look like Tyler at all, and she was getting closer to Isabella, so I did not adore her anymore. But Kane looks exactly like Tyler. For my mother-in-law and Tyler, Amelia and I gradually got in their way. So they came up with a ridiculous idea. If we said you had been cheating on me, I'd get custody of Kane, and on top of that, I'd get alimony and child support from you. So I can remarry Serena. With that in mind, he was going to kick me and Amelia out. After his long story, I breathed out deeply. I talked to my lawyer about this, mother-in-law, what you did was a crime. I'll talk to my lawyer about how to handle it. At my word, crime, my mother-in-law's expression hardened. However, Tyler still looks at me with desperate eyes, his face pale. I'm sorry about Amelia, but leave Kane behind, he's my precious son. I don't care about myself, but about Kane, please. Tyler and his mother's faces were serious. However, my determination remains the same. I'll have custody of both of our children. Tyler, be prepared for my claim for alimony for you and your mother. With that, I got up from my seat and left the living room. I pretended I didn't hear anything as Tyler tried to hold me back. Tyler was certainly a good father to Kane. However, when I remember the horrible look on his face when he punched Amelia, I definitely can't give my children to Tyler. I made up my mind to do so. Afterwards, Tyler and his mother seemed to be planning to get custody of Kane until the last minute, but in the end they decided to give up. The reason was Tyler's domestic violence against Amelia, as well as the criminal behavior of my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law said, I don't care about myself, so I reported it without hesitation. Sure enough, my mother-in-law immediately got fired from her workplace, and the trial is still ongoing. I thought Tyler was going to start over with Serena, but he was dumped by her as she didn't like the son of a criminal. And as a result of my mother-in-law's story spreading to the company, he was transferred from a sales position that was elite. He was transferred to a department far away that he had never heard of. On top of that, he had to pay the alimony I requested on behalf of my mother-in-law, so he was desperate for a job. As for our family, as a result of making full use of detectives and investigative companies, it turned out that my child was being raised in an orphanage. Apparently, Serena received my child instead, but she had no intention of raising her from the beginning. Despite many things, I was able to adopt her back as my child. The child, Emma, looked so much like me that even the people at the facility were surprised. Although I was only worried about whether Amelia would accept her, Amelia was overjoyed the moment she saw Emma. I have a new sister. Saying that, I hugged Emma, and I couldn't help but cry. Emma, who was a little taller than Amelia, was also surprised, but she was relieved to soon get along with Amelia. I managed to get hired as a full-time employee at my part-time job, and with the help of my parents, I am happily raising my children while struggling. Amelia and Emma, who were so small, are now in junior high school 10 years later. Along with Kane, who has become even more energetic, the three of them still live together as slightly different siblings.